Hey there, Cards fans. Welcome back to Cardinal Craze. I'm your host, Alucard. Today on the show, we have the new addition to Cardinal Craze, Trace, out of CardsHive. Trace is going to be on the show, and he's going to be the new co-host. Trace, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
I'm doing all right. We're really glad to have you a part of the Cardinal Craze team, and we're really glad to have you on board and being able to bring us new content going forward.
Oh, I'm really excited. It's really just fun just talking about the football team, talking about recruiting and everything. So I'm glad I just got to join up with you and, join up with somebody that cares about it as much as I do. So,
Well, we're glad to have you on, and honestly, I'm really excited to see what we're going to be able to bring to the table going forward. Now, Trace at CardsHive, be sure to go follow him. I have the link in the description down below, and he's going to be covering all up-to-date situations with recruiting and what's going on with Cardinal football. All right, so today on the show, we're going to be talking about offensive depth. All right, so up first is quarterback. Now, what is your opinion on what's going on with the quarterback room situation?
we'll see. Obviously, you're going to have, Mchale Cunningham starting. I think everybody, kind of agrees with that. I think where most people have a disagreement with is, kind of Conley and Puma, what's going to happen with the backup situation. I think we kind of disagreed on that a little bit. Maybe not.
Oh, no, we did. We were having a conversation in our chat about one of the things that, for me personally, I felt that Puma. Now, I don't know if Puma is going to be able to step up. I'm not sure how his recovery process has been and if he's been able to catch up or not. We've seen some footage of him during the break of him practicing, but the problem is that we're not sure what his situation is going to be like going into fall, if he's going to be ready. Because as most Card fans know, he suffered an injury last year, had to sit out for the 2019 season, which was a great season for Mchale Cunningham. Now, Mchale changed his name before the start of the season, I believe, and it was Malik Cunningham, as everyone knew him, for a good long while. But now Mchale is going to be stepping back into that role as a starter. Now, the question is about secondary. Now, you believe that Juwan Pass is going to be that secondary.
Yeah, yeah. See, my reasoning for that is just, it's just experience. And, when the staff originally came in, I'm sure you've seen the footage and everything when they were first watching the guys, getting their first look at them practice and everything. You could kind of tell that they were like in awe of just Juwan Pass's, stature and just, he's like 6'4", like 230, I think, somewhere around there. I think they got him down to like 225 maybe. I know he was closer to 240, but I think they actually trimmed him down some to try to get him a little bit faster for their system. I know people kind of prefer Conley because he honestly probably is better for the system that Satterfield and, Ledford run. But, I kind of give Puma just that edge just based off experience.
Well, that's very true. I honestly was big on Puma going into the 2019 season. Now, Evan Conley has been able to step up and he's been able to show glimpses of what is to come if he can continue to develop. The only question is, I guess, right now, head position for quarterback is obviously going to be Mchale Cunningham. I mean, without a question of a doubt, he was able to bring everything. And a lot of people have argued the fact that if he played in the Notre Dame game starting off, and we had that experience going forward like we did in the season, that we may have been able to beat Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things that I'm going to say about Conley is the fact that I feel like his progression as a freshman, as a true freshman from last year, we saw glimpses of what could be an amazing quarterback going forward. And I just feel that because Juwan had to sit out an entire season almost and, watch from the sidelines and not being able to participate, I feel that there is going to be a regression, unfortunately. Now, I know that this is Juwan's redshirt senior year, but the unfortunate side of that is that he sat out for an entire year. He may have worked out with some of the other players, but for the most part, he just wasn't able to advance like Mchale was. He was not able to get in those snaps. Now, I could be wrong, Now, one of the other worries that Juwan has going in is T. Webb. T. Webb, he played with Trevor Lawrence back in their high school days, and they say that T. Webb was almost as good as Trevor Lawrence.
I mean, I'm somebody I feel like a lot of Cardinal fans kind of forgot about T Webb in last year's recruiting class because of the whole Choa Purdy situation.
Mhm.
But T Webb, I mean, if you look at him, he's what the staff wants in their quarterback. He's 6'3", 6'4". You know, he's got the frame. He doesn't have the weight right now. He's only like I think a buck 90 maybe, somewhere around there. But you know, he's got the frame. He has the athleticism. I know he's rated as a pocket passer, but he definitely had, if you watch the tape, he's got the athleticism to move around in the pocket, you know, get the first down if he needs to, if the offensive line breaks down.
Yeah.
Uh, so I definitely like what I see from him. I think it's ideal, you know, if he does redshirt and, you know, is able to get that year of, you know, building up his strength and his weight and everything. I think that's ideal. But the staff is really adamant on, you know, putting the most talented guys out there no matter what.
Yeah, no, most definitely. Now, I believe that you're right. Chuba Purdy's situation did leave T Webb kind of in a shadow. You know, the Card fans were focused on that, but I truly believe T Webb will be able to perform, and he may have to redshirt to be able to put on some of that weight. So your vote in is that Juwan is going to be back up to Mchale, and I guess my perception is that Evan Conley will be back up, and we'll probably have Juwan in some games and some situations, and to be able to relieve a lot of pressure. And I really do hope that Juwan is able to actually bring a lot to the table. I really hope that the regression didn't hurt him as much. Now, personally, I think you know I was looking forward to Juwan back in 2018 and going in 2019. Hopefully, the best situation comes out and Juwan can be able to play for his senior year, and hopefully, we see a lot more of him on the field. All right,
Yeah.
so one of the next that we're going to move on to. You know, because I could talk about Juwan for hours. I could talk about his performance, his passing, you know, all those situations. But so for the most part, we move on to running back situation. That is more of a question as to who's going to be the secondary. Currently, it is Javion Hawkins going in as the starter.
Hmm.
Now, who would you believe is going to be the backup?
Well, the backup to him is going to be Hassan Hall. So I think it's more of the question of who's going to be behind them, because I think it's a little bit more ideal that you see Javion Hawkins get a little bit less carries. Not to say that he doesn't deserve those carries, but it's just long term through the course of the season. Do you want to wear your most talented running back into the ground? So by the time you are playing Kentucky, you know, do you want to have Javion Hawkins with tired legs, or do you want to be fresh?
Yeah.
So I think as far as, you know, kind of trying to get a third running back into that rotation, it's pretty important. And I know Berkeley was there. I'm not for sure if he's still on the roster. I know we had Jalen Mitchell and Aiden Robbins both redshirt.
Yeah,
So
now, so mention Jalen Mitchell and Aiden Robbins will be coming back. The other one is Marquis Berkeley.
mhm.
Yep, and he's going to be coming in for his redshirt senior year.
Okay, yeah.
Now, that seems to be all of the running backs on the 2020 roster at gocards.com.
Mhm.
But for the most part, I feel that Jalen Mitchell or Aiden Robbins is really going to step up, because I feel that Jalen Mitchell was kind of, now he redshirted, and this will be his redshirt freshman year, but
Mhm.
I feel like he was kind of overlooked in, I believe, the 2019 recruiting class, because he has a lot of talent, and so does Aiden Robbins. I
Mhm.
really believe both of them are going to bring a lot to the table, because who's to say that Javion Hawkins um, next year doesn't declare for the NFL draft? You know, this year will be
Mhm.
his redshirt sophomore year, but next year will be his redshirt junior. I honestly, if he can put up you know, another 1,500 or even 3,000 rushing yards like we had talked about the other day, and even a little while ago off camera, that if he can get 3,000 yards rushing wise, I really feel that he's going to step up in his NFL draft stock by huge numbers. Now, personally, Hassan Hall has done great on special teams. You know, as the receiver, he has been phenomenal.
Mhm.
Stu
Mhm.
Holt, you know, for the special teams, he has done a phenomenal job, and I am just so excited to see what Hassan Hall is going to bring to the table in regards to special teams.
Mhm.
But you're right, either Jalen Mitchell or Aiden Robbins is really going to be the really step up this year, and I feel like they're going to get a lot more snaps because you're right. We cannot have Javion Hawkins tiring himself out, playing, 3 quarters, and then the fourth quarter, just have him sub out for somebody. Now, what's your perception on the backup being for Hassan Hall?
Well, see, I'm kind of split between the two. I think Jalen Mitchell is a lot like Javion Hawkins in a lot of ways, kind of more smaller, stouter back that's got real high end speed. But then again, I think Aiden Robbins kind of gives us something that we don't have, which is that bigger change of pace back that's kind of able to go in like on that 3rd and 3 and just bruise it in and get, just grind out yards and wear a defense down. I think he's because Hassan Hall and Hawkins and Mitchell, I think they're more kind of predicated on speed. I think Hawkins and Mitchell have both done a really good job as far as picking up weight. I'm not too familiar with what Hassan Hall has done during the offseason. I think as far as like a grinded out change of pace back, Aiden Robbins kind of adds something to the running back room we don't really have.
Yeah, no, very true. So he's going to be one of the tallest running backs that we have on roster, which is very surprising. Now, for the most part, he is probably going to be that bigger guy going in there. And I completely agree with you on that situation because he's going to be the guy getting bruised and everything. I really expect Jalen Mitchell to really be stepping up to the plate and being able to bring a little bit more of what Javion Hawkins has been able to bring because they're both almost at the same height situation.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so that kind of covers running back, unless you wanted to add on a couple more to that.
Oh, no, I think that's it because, like you said, we only have like 5 running backs on the roster. So, I mean, there's not really much to go. And I think they're only going to go like 3 deep anyways. So,
all right, so let's move on to. So we just covered running backs, wide receiver. That's going to be an interesting one.
yeah, that's I think we can go. Let's see. It just depends. You want to go 5 or 6 deep, or how do you do that?
Let's go. Yeah, let's go 5 deep.
5 deep.
Yeah.
Okay, so obviously, you got Dez and Tutu at the top. You're gonna have Tutu in the slot, and then you're gonna have Dez on the outside, and then I think it's gonna be Justin Marshall kind of taking over for Seth Dawkins, and then after that, I would go. We've been hearing a lot about Braden Smith, and I think that I think what we're hearing about Braden Smith is good, but from what I've after looking back, I know I think the one I sent you, I actually had Braden Smith as wide receiver 4, but after kind of looking back and diving into it, I looked into Josh Johnson when he first got on campus under Bobby Petrino, and I think he really adds he really adds a lot of speed to the wide receiver room that we don't see outside of Tutu. Braden Smith, he apparently has it, and then like somebody like Tyler Harrell is supposed to have that kind of speed. But I think as far as like what we've actually seen in a game, I think Josh Johnson has actually been somebody that's been able to prove it. So I think as far as the depth chart goes, I would put somebody like Josh Johnson as 4, kind of shake stuff up and surprise people, but I kind of like to see stuff before, I want to see it to believe it. So, and with Josh Johnson, as I look back, I've seen that, he could kind of be that guy that can step in as like a backup slot receiver and, you don't really lose too much of what you're getting from Tutu. I mean, obviously he doesn't have that talent, but when you're talking about like just a speedy slot receiver, I think behind Tutu, he can be that. And Braden Smith's a sophomore anyways. So I think, as far as prioritizing like experience and I think that matters. And I think, Josh Johnson has already had a year with this playbook, and Braden Smith, he's a newcomer. Yeah. So I think that kind of gives him the edge, but the staff has emphasized talent over everything else. So I could be wrong. I've been wrong before, but I'll go with Josh Johnson at 4. And then I'd probably just have, Braden Smith, because they have said that Braden Smith is somebody they think that can play on the outside as well, even though he is 5'10". They don't just view him as a slot receiver. So I think he's somebody that's probably be wide receiver 5. Like I said, I like to see it first. I know Christian Fitzpatrick is somebody whose name gets thrown there a lot. And then I brought up Tyler Harrell. He's actually been in the Ville. He didn't have to go anywhere during this epidemic because the players that that were on campus rehabbing and stuff like that didn't have to leave. I think he was one of them. So yeah, there's guys that haven't really proven a lot, but apparently the talent's there. I want to see it before I put them in any depth chart that I make.
Yeah, no, of course. Christian may be in a secondary, for a wide receiver, but I really feel that he has the potential to step in and be a true freshman playing in that first slot. Now, Tutu obviously is the favorite going in. Everyone knows Tutu going into this season. There isn't a Louisville fan out there that hasn't mentioned Tutu that well.
Yeah.
Braden Smith, as you commented on, playing on that outside edge, I really feel that he has a lot of speed. Now, we haven't seen a whole lot as opposed to his tapes from his JUCO days, but from what the staff has said, he is speedy and fast and potentially a contender with Tutu on speed. And I was just looking at the depth chart and I was trying to find how tall he stands at.
I think it was like 5'10" or something like that. I don't think he's very tall, but from what I've seen, he's one of those guys. I don't know if you really pay attention to the NFL too much or anything like that. But he reminds me of somebody from what I've seen of like a Deontay Johnson, who's like not really tall, but he can play on the outside just solely based off the fact that his route running and his feet are so good that he doesn't need the height to get the separation.
Yeah.
So he can be on the outside just as easy as he can be in the slot. But that's just what I've heard from, Breeden and, because we had, what was it, 7 spring practices is what I think it was.
Yeah, it was. They were able to get 7 in before the quarantine officially knocked them out of being able to actually meet in groups of larger than 10. All right, so Sabrine Smith, I really feel that he's going to bring a lot to the table. I feel. So you mentioned Josh Johnson coming in, and you said he didn't have to leave because he was a part of. He was rehabilitating, so he didn't have to leave campus, and he could be into the workout room to work out, right?
Well, I think him and Tyler Harrell actually. A couple of them. Tyler Harrell is supposed to be. I don't know if you're really aware of him. He's supposed to be another kind of a speedy slot guy. I think he was actually on campus too for the quarantine.
Okay. Yeah. Now I'm not too familiar with either, unfortunately, but I will be sure to look out for him this coming season and see if they make any type of splashes in the water. Now we're going to kind of touch on tight end as well because they kind of fill almost a similar position. Now we have Tobias Little, Isaiah Martin, Francis Sherman, Marshawn Ford, who did exceptionally well this past year, and he's actually from Louisville. I think he was one of the walk-ons. Des Melton, everyone is very familiar with last year's recruiting class. He should be coming in, and he should be a little bit more heavier and have a little bit of a bigger build coming in. Who do you think is going to be starting?
Well, I think that the way that the staff runs their offense, they kind of run like a 2 tight end set with one more being like a halfback and the other one being a true tight end. Obviously Marshawn Ford's got that halfback spot locked down. And then you have, I think Ian Pfeiffer, he got a 6th year of eligibility from the NCAA. So I think he's actually going to be our starting tight end. But I know you mentioned Des Melton. Actually seen I think he was coming in. I think he was listed at 210, which is probably being generous. He's probably more like 200 whenever he originally came in. He's listed at 240 now. So there's definitely been, and it's not just, I don't think it's just, a lie. From what I've seen, he had a Zoom call with Coach Holt, who's also a tight ends coach. And then I think it was Jack Doyle from the Indianapolis Colts. I think they were all having a Zoom call with the tight end group. And I noticed Des Melton up at the very top, and he almost looked like he could play offensive tackle. Like he looked like he'd gained like a decent amount of weight. So I think he's somebody to really watch out for. And then I know we have Dwayne Martin, who's coming in this year as a true freshman, and Desmond Daniels. So we'll see what happens with them. I think ultimately they'll probably be red shirts, but you never know. I mean, like I said, the staff always stresses that, they're open to the 11 most talented dudes being on the field at all times. So, if it's a true freshman, it's a true freshman. So
Hmm.
we'll see. But as far as starters go, I'd definitely say it's Marshawn Ford and Ian Pfeiffer if I had my pick. I know there's people that like Tobias Little a lot to start there, but like I said, Ian Pfeiffer got that. I think he was starting there last year.
Yeah.
So I think I'm going to go ahead and just say he's probably going to be the starter again this year.
Part of me feels like Marshawn Ford's going to be the starter, and then Des Melton. I really feel like he's going to step up into that secondary role, or at least Marshawn Ford's going to play that fullback position. You're going to have Des in front of him playing tight end. I feel like Des is going to bring the like the size and weight that's needed for tight end. But
Mm-hmm.
Louisville's going to be needing to use those tight ends and utilizing them a little bit more, I think, this season with the different play schemes that they're trying to come up with for the upcoming season, if they haven't already.
Yeah, I think you can definitely see you know, I think you can definitely see Des Melton out there. They're probably going to run specific plays for him as far as the passing game goes because, you know, with the weight he's picked up now, whenever he's going to be out there on the field, the defense probably isn't going to see him and automatically think, okay, he's going out down in the field for a route. You know what I'm saying? Like he looks like somebody that can actually go out there and set the edge and block. So, and hopefully he still kept that athleticism that originally attracted the staff to him and, made them want to bring him in to be tight end because they brought him into, they didn't really bring him in to be a traditional tight end, I don't think. I think they brought him in to be more of kind of that tight end that busts the seam and, makes it almost impossible to cover the middle of the field.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, most definitely, I agree. All right, so now that we kind of touched on tight end, wide receivers, we're going to move on to my favorite area, offensive line. All right, so moving into the starting position at left tackle, who do you have?
See, I have Adonis Boone starting there. I think that's like one of the more givens, in my opinion, on the line is Adonis Boone starting to left tackle. I really do. I think I'm a really big Adonis Boone fan. I think he's going to be in the NFL one day.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's after this year, if he's able to, really show off the skill set that I think that he does have, and I think he's got a rare body type. He's like a real true 6'5", 6'6". He's not overweight by any means. He can really, really move. So I think as long as he's kind of able to show a lot of the same things that Becton showed last year, I think he'll get some NFL buzz. Not to say that he'll necessarily leave, but I definitely think at least by his senior, because he's going to be a junior coming into this year, right? I think it's
I
going to be a
believe
junior.
so. Let me look at the list real fast. Yes, this is his junior year.
Yeah, so he still has 2 years of eligibility, so I think he'll definitely get some NFL buzz after this year. I mean, I think with Ledford being here, you're going to start seeing. It's going to be very common that you see Louisville offensive linemen get real NFL buzz.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he's really somebody to watch out for.
Yeah, no, most definitely. I truly believe Adonis Boone is going to step into the role and be able to step up as one of the captains on offensive line and fill in the Mchale. Now, one of the things that now Mchale, I believe he kind of he switched between left tackle and right tackle, I believe, right?
Mhm. He originally started out at right tackle and then
Mhm.
switched to left tackle.
Yeah, and so and I feel like Adonis will be able to step up and be able to fill either role if necessary. Now there was some buzz about Trevor Reed coming in as a secondary, behind
Mhm.
Adonis, and I really feel that Trevor Reed. I've seen some of his tape from JUCO, and he does perform really well, very admirable. And honestly, I mean, hands down, Adonis is going to be starter. Who that backup will be is more of a question that I feel like a lot of fans are going to fill in the blanks. And
Mhm.
we're going to see a lot of rotation on offensive line. We're going to have a lot more depth on offensive line than we did. And honestly, I feel like there's going to be a lot of fighting chances for almost everybody.
Yeah,
So we move on to left guard. Who do you think? Well, who do you have as a starter for left guard?
I have Caleb Chandler starting at left guard, which I think if you had to rank the offensive lineman, I'd say he's probably our best one.
Okay. Now, would you say that Luke Kandra could potentially fill that starter role?
Um, I would say if Luke Kandra were to become a starter as a true freshman, I
Mm-hmm.
would say that I would say that it would have to be due to injury because, you know, Robbie Bell at right guard
Mhm.
is somebody who's been here for, I think it's going to be his 5th year with the program. I actually think he's going to be a team captain. So I think it would have to be from injury,
Mhm.
in all honesty, and it's not anything against Kandra. It's just specifically the fact that that guard position is just locked down by probably the most talented player on our offensive line. And
Mhm.
then also on the other side at guard, you have probably the most experienced player on our offensive line. So it's kind of hard to crack that starting lineup at guard.
Okay. Now, who do you have as center?
At center, I have Cole Bentley.
Cole Bentley. Okay. So now, who do you think could be backup for Cole Bentley?
Well, see, I originally thought it was going to be Jackson Gregory,
Mhm.
but I was reading the depth chart that Jody Demling put out a couple days ago, and he said whenever he was attending the practices that Joshua Black was actually playing backup center.
Mhm.
So I thought that was kind of interesting. I thought it'd be, Joshua Black would be a backup guard this year, and Jackson Gregory would be a backup center, but it's looking like it's going to be the other way around.
Yeah.
So I mean, like I said, I had Jackson Gregory at center. I think he's got more of the body type to be a center.
Mhm.
I think that suits him a little bit, but I'm not Ledford. So
Now, I mean,
yeah.
now Joshua Black, I believe he's going to be able to step up. Now, he was a part of the 2019 recruiting class, and I think redshirting has really given him the opportunity to bulk up and get up to the size that is needed to
Hmm.
play on offensive line. Now, mind you, he's coming in at like 290 for offensive line and
Yeah.
sitting about 6'2", which is really great for a center or a guard. Personally, because you can't have a 6'6" guys being your center or being your guard. You got to
Yeah.
have those as the end wings.
Hmm.
As I guess I say it now. All right, so then I guess we can move on to right guard. You had mentioned Robbie Bell being at right guard now, and then Jackson Gregory being your backup, and you had mentioned that that's what Jody from 24/7 Sports at Cardinal Authority had put on there a while back. And honestly, I kind of agree with that lineup because, I mean, here's the thing: is that Jackson Gregory, as you've been seeing on Twitter, he's been putting in the work during this offseason and even coming back in. I feel like there is potential for him to gain a little bit more weight if his
Hmm.
stature allows it. And one of the things that I like to protest is that you don't want your offensive linemen being overweight. You don't want them sitting at 320 with with a 6'2" stature, and most of that is fat.
Hmm. Yeah.
Because I mean that will hurt them going forward. But for the most part, right guard I kind of agree with. And now we move on to right tackle. And one of my favorite players going in, besides Adonis Boone, but at right tackle, is Renato Brown. Seeing the pictures from the first 7 practices that the university was able to put out, Renato has put on a ton of muscle.
Hmm.
Personally, like I've seen, I mean, seeing the photos, he's put on so much muscle and so much weight. I feel that he could potentially step up into that role of, where Mchale was right at that right tackle until he moved to left tackle. But honestly, Renato, I can see as an NFL, prospect going forward.
Yeah. With Brown, actually, because whenever he was coming in, he was listed as an offensive guard as well. I think 24/7 had him listed as.
Mm-hmm.
Um, So whenever he first came in and he was getting reps at right tackle, I think they've been having him as a tackle since last year. Uh, I was a little surprised, but as you said, with the pictures that have been released and everything of all the muscle and all the mass he's gained, I mean, it's been crazy. Um, but yeah, I just I've been seeing some people that want to redshirt Trevor Reed uh, for his first year with the team
Mm-hmm.
because they feel that strongly about Brown, and I think that personally I would keep Reed without his red shirt. I would just go ahead and let him play this year. And see, I personally had Reed over Brown because Brown will be a redshirt freshman,
Mm-hmm.
and I think Reed is going to be a junior. So that's just why I had. But I also saw where the weight thing where Reed was only listed at like 265, but I also read where he gained like 20 pounds. So I'm not too for sure as far as that, like with the right tackle position goes. I'm kind of more up in the air with that. If I had to guess, if for the start of the season, I would say Brown will be the starting right tackle. But by the end of the season, I think Reed will be the starting right tackle.
Well, there's that potential, but we also have Cam Digeorge, who is coming in from
Mhm.
UConn. He was a transfer at the now he came in at the end of last year's what was it? It was last year's recruiting class. He kind of came in there like at the last minute. Now the staff did talk about filling a transfer position at on the offensive line, and we were really surprised because a lot of fans I think were predicting that they were going to bring someone from NC State,
Mhm.
and I think Coach Ledford, had being at NC State for so long, they figured they were going to pull someone out from NC State and bring them over to Louisville. But surprisingly enough, we got an AC or an AAC team, when I think it was a great decision by the staff to get Cam DeGeorge onto the team. Yeah, he brings size and muscle. Now, he didn't play necessarily a whole lot at UConn, but going forward, I think there's potential that he could and will possibly be a backup to Renato Brown this coming season.
Yeah. I think for the most part, we have four offensive tackles that can probably start right now.
Mhm.
And I think that's a good thing. I think like we said, Boone is the solidified starter at left tackle. It just kind of goes with who's going to be starting at right tackle, and then I think who the staff wants to be behind them too. But I think as far as like depth goes, I think we're pretty set as far as offensive tackle goes. And then we have guys like Zach Williamson and Timothy Lawson who just came in this year. So
And
like
Cole Bentley
we got an offensive
or
tackle
Baines, I'm sorry.
who
No, my bad. I was Kobe Baines is who I said Cole Bentley. I don't know why, but yeah, Kobe Baines coming in as a freshman as well. They actually when I was talking to Adonis, he was actually talking about Kobe Baines really putting in the work, and a lot of his offensive linemen were putting in the work as well. But no, Cole Bentley, definitely will be in there for his senior year, and I just feel that it's really going to be a toss up. But overall, all of them are going to be seeing the field.
I think that if we can have four offensive tackles ready to go right now, I mean, you might as well,
Mm-hmm.
because that's what really seemed like would hurt us with teams like Miami and Florida State last year was, we weren't able to grind and wear these teams out late in the games. They were grinding us down and wearing us down.
Mm-hmm.
So I think as far as just having talent talent out there and having bodies out there, there's no point in really, handcuffing yourself and redshirting guys who can play right now.
No, yeah, most definitely. And I just feel that this team, this coming season, we're going to have a lot more bodies out there on the field. And I feel like being able to have that ability to bring guys in and say, hey, Adonis Boone, you can sit for, this entire quarter if you need to. You can rest up if you need to. We got a backup who will replace you as opposed to, and as you saw, Mekhi Becton, he would get worn out. Going into the third quarter, he would get worn out. You could tell, Now, mind you, he still brought the strength. He still brought the Incredible Hulk and just slammed, linebackers or defensive line players to the ground,
Yeah.
with such ease. But, you could tell that it was wear and tear on him.
Zach Williamson, I mean, he's a name that kind of gets forgotten because, you got guys that, come in redshirt and
Oh,
they,
yeah, that's true.
they get forgotten because you got guys that are coming in and then you got guys that are already starting. So you kind of forget about those guys that, had the red shirt and sit out a year. But I think Zach Williamson, he looks the part, 6'6", close to 300 pounds. So he kind of looks like the part of what they want to do as far as their offensive tackles go. So like I
Yeah.
said, we definitely got bodies this year, especially with the offensive line. We definitely
Now,
have bodies.
now, oh yeah, no, definitely. Zach Williamson. I mean, I saw him at the bowl game, and he was, he didn't get the chance to play, I believe, because he redshirted.
Mhm.
Or maybe he did get to play last season. I'm not sure if he got to play a whole lot, but I mean, getting that 4 game restriction, I don't know if they got him in a couple snaps or what the situation was. I'd have to go back and relook. But for the most part, him and Tim Lawson, I feel could going forward, become breakout stars. And I think Tim Lawson also gets, overlooked as well coming in as a freshman. I don't know if the staff is going to want him to redshirt or not, but it's really going to be a question going forward. But I think Tim Lawson could step up if we have a lot of injuries.
Oh, I think as far as this past recruiting class, the 2020 recruiting class,
Hmm.
I think with what we're looking at with Timothy Lawson, Kobe Baines, Luke Kandra, and possibly even Austin Collins if he plays center and
Hmm.
he turns out there, I think we're looking at like a solid foundation for possibly like a offensive line, kind of like what we had with Coach Strong days with Jamon Brown and well, hi there with Jamon Brown and there's a few others that John Miller, um, but there was just a few guys that we had that went into the league and actually were able to do something. And I think that's kind of like what we're looking at now with what the coaching staff is bringing in and what they're able to do with girl with with Kobe Baines and Timothy Lawson, Luke Kandra, like I said, and possibly Austin Collins, just depending on what he's able to do, at center or at guard. I don't really know what they plan on doing with him yet, but I think what we have as far as a core potentially, it's looking really, really good.
Yeah, no, most definitely. So I see that your daughter is kind of coming to the focus. She's a future Cardinal fan, right?
Oh, for sure.
For sure. All right. Well, hopefully one day she can take over for the media situation and be able to report in what's going on. But
Maybe. We'll see.
well, for the most part, that kind of wraps it up for the offensive depth chart. All right. Well, Trace, I really appreciate you joining the Cardinal the Cardinal Craze family and being a part of this hopefully growing process that will eventually get up there and be a part of, some of the greats for Louisville. But for the most part, this has been Cardinal Craze and Trace. Welcome to the family. Go
Appreciate
Cards.
you having me. Go Cards.